Hey guys, welcome to our last theme. We're going to talk about, we're not going to talk about law and order for this theme. We're talking about wild law and order. So those are two different things. So wild law and order is really the law and order of this really harsh climate that we're up against in the Klondike. Rough weather, rough circumstances, rough people. Things aren't easy up there. So there's a special law and order that goes on the Klondike that does not happen in other places, like Judge Miller's estate. Judge Miller goes by reason. Judge Miller goes by logic. Judge Miller goes by a court that's set up and organized by society. This wild law and order, however, is very, very different. All right. So one thing that Jack London brings up when he writes this book up in the Klondike is The Origin of Species, On the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. All right. What this talks about is the survival of the fittest. All right. The survival of the fittest is really what this whole thing is about. All right. So in this first slide, what you see here is you see Buck and you see his owner and you see a court of these Klondikers who are up there. And this court is assembled not like Judge Miller's back in the Southland. This is a Northland mock court set up because Buck attacks a man in order to defend John Thornton. So the miners set up this mock court to settle the dispute on this frontier. That they set up their own councils demonstrates a different kind of justice that is at work at the Northland, and it's all about survival of the fittest. All right. So here's our harsh climate. This is more of like the law of the land, the law of nature. And John Milton is another book that the author brought up to read as he was writing this book. And this is a pretty harsh look at the different circles of hell. So he had some things that were on his mind that were pretty brutal when it came to writing this book, and I think it comes out in here. Our second slide really takes a look at this in a different way, right? We see this whole survival of the fittest here, and these lions fighting for their lives. The moral considerations that were back at Judge Miller's are not here. The reason in the judge's courthouse is not here. It's all about this survival of the fittest, and you see this cool quote here. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Now think about Buck for a second. He responds to change extremely well. He goes from different place to different place, and he adapts each time. And when he adapts, he overcomes. If he does not adapt to his environment, he will die. All right. Some of the people that do not survive are people who, like Hal and Mercedes and Charles, they, if you remember in the book, they perish, all right? They don't have this sense of adaptation that Buck does, okay? They can't adapt to life in the Northland, right? Mercedes can't get rid of her possessions. Hal and Charles, they don't have this inner strength to execute the successful trip across the Yukon. They don't listen to the advice of people around them who warn them not to go on this thin ice right here. So consequently, their ignorance, Hal's ignorance, leads the team over that ice. And those heavy things that are on that sled that they're trying to lug across the Klondike don't work out for them too well in the end. All right, they haven't adapted to nature's ways. They're not fit, and they're not selected to survive. Therefore, according to Darwin, they are not strong, and they're not getting through. Right? So here we see some of the movie adaptations of some of the characters here. Okay, we have Hal here. We have Mercedes. And we have Charles, right? So there's some different people that were in the movie. If you've seen that, that's great. Buck does, unlike these characters, Buck excels and survives in the wild because he follows his instincts. All right, he goes with what's natural to him. The law of club and fang, right? Wild justice is served. When the most adaptive survive, the strong thrive, and the weak die, and those who disrespect nature's laws suffer nature's wrath. The sled dog teams, they operate like this. All right, they're one single unit within a larger thing. So they are healthy and they thrive in the wild under the direction of respectful owners. Not unlike these characters, but Francois and Perrault were actually respectful owners. When you have respectful owners, like Francois and Perrault, the dogs work best. Right? They're efficient. They know their place within the order. And things kind of fall into disorder when Buck does upset that balance by overthrowing Spitz. However, Buck, because he is one of the strong and he will survive, he restores order on the team when he takes over because he knows how to play by nature's rules. And that's really what it all comes down to with the wild law and order. It's not like Judge Miller's. It is nature, right? And if you adapt to nature, you will get through. If you don't adapt to nature like these guys, you will not survive. All right? Buck adapts, survives, and he comes out perfect on the other end. He comes out with independence, leads his own wild wolf pack, and he's good. All right, so that's our third theme, guys. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to take the quiz.